The Mobile Mini Sun Cup continues in Tucson, Arizona, as two of last year's conference finalists meet on a brisk and chilly Arizona Saturday night. Welcome to Keno North Stadium in Tucson. I'm Jake Simmons alongside Ross Smith, Portland Timbers and New York Red Bulls. And tonight, Ross, we're going to see an experienced, a theoretical starting 11 from the Timbers against a young Red Bulls team, a squad getting ready to play in the CCL in a couple days.
Yeah, for the Timbers, they still have a couple weeks before any meaningful matches that are going to count. And as you mentioned, for the Red Bulls, it will be on Wednesday, so we will see what you could call a secondary squad. But make no mistake, there are certainly very capable players in this Red Bulls lineup tonight, and players that have played in the first team as well. So there's talent on the pitch. There'll be plenty of energy going up against the Timbers team, who are looking to fine-tune, who are really trying to build on the layers, their system, to get ready for 2 weeks from now.
Jeff Fettinella getting warm. He will start in goal for the Portland Timbers today. This very theoretically possibly could be the starting 11 on March 2nd against Colorado. A few changes, 3 from the team that played against Seattle on Wednesday.
Diego Chava comes back in the side because Diego Chava. You look at the ones that you think there's competition for places. Is Dairon Asprilla. He comes in for an Andy Polo, and then Jeremy Abobasi in for Lucas Milano, who Milano himself was having a good preseason, but Abobasi in his last 2 games, and there was a Red Bulls match after the Seattle game on the Thursday where Abobasi scored again. He of course scored against Seattle, and so he has something to say for it. Guys trying to fight for their positions.
Meanwhile, for the Red Bulls, their group of starting players are resting today. They're getting ready for Wednesday in the Dominican Republic, the beginning of their CCL journey. A young group, but a lot of young talent for the Red Bulls.
And this lineup, it'll settle into a 4-3-3. And when you talk about very capable, if you look at right back Duncan and you look at holding center midfielder Bezecourt, those 2 players actually played against the Timbers in their 4-0 win last year regular season, and so very capable. Keep an eye on number 11 though, Marcus Epps. He's come across from Philadelphia Union. I think this is a very cute signing from New York Red Bulls. He was released on waiver drafts. He's come across. He's a big pickup. He's got plenty of speed on the right-hand side.
Marcus Epps from Philadelphia, the first pick in that waiver draft. Chris Armas, in his first full season as head coach of the New York Red Bulls, took over for Jesse March midseason last year, of course, when March left to be an assistant with Red Bull Leipzig. Led the Red Bulls to their Supporters Shield, led them to the best record regular season in MLS history, 71 points. We're underway now in Tucson, the Portland Timbers and the New York Red Bulls. The Mobile Mini Sun Cup preseason continues in 2019. It's chilly tonight in Tucson. It's been a beautiful week here. It's going to get cold next week. Both these teams will technically stay here in Tucson for another week, though. This New York Red Bulls first team will be off to the Dominican Republic early next week for their Wednesday match against Atletico Pantoja, the first of their 2 legs in the CCL round of 16. Timbers will have 2 more matches after tonight in the Mobile Mini Sun Cup.
And as expected from the Timbers, settling into their 4-2-3-1 formation. Guzman and Chara just holding in the center of the midfield. Asprilla on the right-hand side, Blanco left. Valeria, of course, takes up that number 10 position with Jeremy Abobasi up top. But when the Red Bulls are on the ball, if you pay attention to the defensive structure, that's something that was a focus when we chatted to manager Giovanni Savarese yesterday. Said he wanted to make sure defensively they were getting things right. And that goes back to this stage of the preseason. You're coming to an end of the 4th week of preseason, 2 weeks remaining. You want to make sure all the base layers are set out. And a big part of that was a defensive structure. And Savarese said, we want to be horrible to beat. We want to get back to those principles where we're difficult to break down.
Yeah, unbreakable was the word that he used. And that was certainly the Timbers' kind of MO, was their reputation at the end of last year. Took them to MLS Cup, but talking about unbreakable, the New York Red Bulls, the best defensive team in the league last year, just allowed 33 goals. A phenomenal defensive effort for them. They had such a good regular season. Of course, lost to Atlanta in the conference finals.
And it's amazing considering the style that they play. And for those supporters who don't follow the Red Bull style of play, it's very much high pressing. It's very much getting us high up the pitch and smothering. They were the top team in terms of winning the ball back in the final third. And so that means when the opposition, say the Portland Timbers tonight, are trying to work the ball out. Well, the Red Bulls were the best team last year in the league at winning that ball back as high up the pitch as possible. And so they're willing to commit, and they're willing to be 1v1 at the back at times. So it's impressive, that stat, when you say that, because defenders are exposed quite often, but they're comfortable with it.
And even though there's no Kaku tonight, there's no Bradley Wright Phillips tonight, Aaron Long, Tim Parker, guys like that, they're still going to play that same style, right? The Red Bull way persists, whether it's Red Bull 2, whether it's in the academy, whether it's the first team. Cascante holding off Brian White. He's composed in the box. Still Julio Cascante. Oh, could be given away. It's a foul in the end on New York.
He's done well there, Cascante, because it was a good ball delivered in behind him. He had to chase it down. He had to use his strength. Then he had a touch on it, so for him, he had to make sure they turned back. He wasn't going to concede a silly corner kick. But I just think that's a boost for him now. Yep. Seattle, he started with Mabiala, and so now for the second consecutive game, we talk about guys who are almost a certainty in Savarese's lineup, and it's fair to say you get the sense that Mabiala is one. So if you're partnered beside him, you think you're in the running to start in the first match of the season. So it's a big night for Cascante to make sure that he solidifies that position. I thought at times he was a little bit drawn out against Seattle midweek, him and Villafania. So it's about getting those connections right, those partnerships on the pitch. He
also started the Timbers' second preseason match in Costa Rica with Larry Mabiala against Herediano. He started against Saprissa as well, the first one, though that was with Claude Dielna. Mabiala didn't play in that match. That's going to be a good position battle for Giovanni Savarese, and it figures to go into the season who he decides to pair with Larry Mabiala, again, assuming that Mabiala has his starting spot locked down. Bill Tuiloma, Claude Dielna, we've seen them playing together kind of as the second unit here in Tucson and against Herediano as well. Jorge Villafania, the left back, pressuring Kyle Duncan, who has let it run out of play. Well done at the 21-year-old Kyle Duncan. Started the first 4 matches in MLS play of 2018 for the Red Bulls and tore his ACL on March 31st against Orlando. Was out for the rest of the season. The Timbers saw him on March 10th in that 4-0 win in New York. A bright young player.
Well, we've seen it with the Red Bulls and how they integrate the youngsters and the system coming up through from the academy into Red Bulls 2, into the first team. Tyler Adams, of course, the best example of that of recent. Obviously, his big transfer to go across into the Bundesliga, and he's doing very well. He's starting in the Bundesliga as well, and so that gives guys encouragement here when you come into the Red Bulls organization and you're thinking, right, the eyeballs are on us now to possibly make a big move across to Europe. And so there's opportunities for young guys to step in, and you mentioned that with Duncan. Bezecourt already talked about holding center midfield. Brian White featured in the first team last year, particularly in the playoffs against Atlanta. He had a big opportunity near the end of the first leg of the Atlanta series, where if he scores it, then all of a sudden now New York Red Bulls would feel as though they would have had a better chance going into the second leg of that series. But he's getting minutes for the first team as well.
Had 3 guys that are starting today that all got injured after being relatively productive for the Red Bulls last season. Mabiala looking for Ibobasi, that's Jordan Scarlett heading it out. Vincent Bezecourt, who you just mentioned, he had season-ending MCL surgery on August 31st after playing 9 matches, and Florian Vallot tore his ACL after playing 14 of the first 16 matches. The cross from Valeri, can't find anybody in the box for the Timbers.
For tonight, though, Jake, I think it'll be interesting, the Timbers' approach and their reaction after Wednesday night, because there was a sense of disappointment around the team, and the manager, Giovanni Savarese, said we weren't quite at it. We weren't at the levels that he would want to be at. And a big part of it was Seattle and the youngsters coming out, the energy which they exuded, and it kept on, and they kept on coming. And for the Timbers' first team, perhaps at the stage of the preseason, a little bit surprised about the energy, maybe a little bit surprised about the quality. It was their first MLS opposition that they had faced, so a different pace to the game than the opponents they faced in Costa Rica. And so now that they got a taste for it Wednesday nights, to make sure, right, we can't take anything for granted. Let's see their attitudes to start up.
Yeah, that was basically the backups for Seattle. Second straight match, the Timbers aren't facing an MLS opponent's first choice team, when the Timbers are putting out, again, what could very well be a first choice group.
We talked about with the Timbers and emphasis being on the defensive structure. We chatted with head coach for the Red Bulls, Chris Harmis, yesterday, and I found it very neat. One word that he said regarding his attacking principles that he's trying to drill into the team this year is deliberate. They want to be deliberate, and so not just by chance how they find their openings on the pitch, very deliberate in their movement. So obviously with the quality, but they need to be creative as well. And so they felt against that Timbers game that I referenced where they played on the Thursday, it was, you could say, quote unquote, behind closed doors, that at times they felt they were very deliberate and they were able to find gaps in the Timbers defense, even though the Timbers team held strong, but they were getting into good areas. And so that's more what Coach Armas talks about. Look for their attacking play to be deliberate and how they move around the midfield and the back line of the Timbers.
Yeah, both teams felt good about how they played in that match. Again, the kind of closed-door scrimmage on Thursday morning. Giovanni Savarese told us he liked how his team was able to find the spaces that were created with New York's press. Here's Diego Valeri trying to take advantage. The Timbers have numbers if they can go quick enough, and it's Jordan Scarlett coming back, kind of cleaning up his own mistake, and now setting the break off, looking for Andreas Ivan, though Larry Smabiala is there quite easily for the Timbers.
He did well, Scarlett, to make amends. Valeri, though, right away, he's looking lively. He's getting on the ball. He's looking forwards early on. For some players, the more senior, experienced players that you know what they're about, I think you can fall into the trap sometimes, and this is without saying any individual player. This is more in general that you can take preseason games a little bit more lighter than when there's a big crowd and the lights are on and there's a meaningful points on the line compared to preseason. And so times you think, right, I'll show up on day one, and you want to be able to tell your boss, I'll be there for day one. Don't worry about me now. Just let me get my fitness and my feet under me. Whereas there's other players, I think, you're not afforded that time, and you need to make sure that you're up to speed right away. And on the pitch tonight, you look at a player like Jeremy Abobasi, you look at Dairon Espria, reference, they're fighting for position. And so they don't have the luxury to say, it's all right, boss, I'll be there for the first day, because you don't know that for sure. And he might say, no problem, but you might not be in my first 11 come the first day. So it's different progressions for different players throughout the preseason.
And Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, guys like that, they've certainly earned the ability and the trust that to make sure on their own that they'll be right. Not on their own, but they know what they need to do to be ready for March 2nd at this point. They know how to get their bodies ready. They know how to not overexert in the preseason at the ages of 32 as they both are.
But then you have to make sure you're there for the day one as well.
Right. Day one for the Timbers will be March 2nd at Colorado. For the Red Bulls, well, it's on Wednesday in the CCL, the first leg against Atletico Pantoja in the Dominican Republic. Their MLS opener is also March 2nd. It's at Columbus.
There's that pressure from the Red Bulls. Just making sure Cascante can't dwell too long on the ball. He's had the loft one into midfield.
It's Dairon Espria who has gone down, holding onto his face. It was Reese Buckmaster, the two that were battling for that ball, and Timbers athletic training staff is going to come have a check on Dairon Espria.
That ball is jumping away. It's the left arm of Buckmaster. I don't think there's too much in it. Obviously, Buckmaster is just trying to shield off the body to try and win the ball. That was that ball from Cascante. The pressure from the Red Bulls, making sure that he has to release the pass early.
Not that it would come into play for this incident, but a reminder, there's video review in the Mobile Mini Sun Cup here in Tucson. Victor Rivas is the head official. Silviu Petrescu is the video assistant referee. We saw multiple reviews on Wednesday night in Timbers Sounders match.
Incidental contact, and that's just trying to shield the ball. It does go a little high. Could see the referee perhaps giving a foul, nothing more. But for Buckmaster, just trying to shield the ball as mentioned.
Timbers athletic trainer Taichi Kitagawa has helped Dairon Espria to his feet. Espria walking off under his own power. Appears as though he will continue.
I mentioned it on Wednesday night, Jake, and the surface is of top quality, and I think even more so tonight. The conditions are very good. There's a coolness in the air. The sprinklers were out to make sure there's an extra little bit more on the ball when it's being passed, a little bit more zip.
Fernandez looking for Duncan on the right. Sebastian Blanco back defending. And Blanco sends it out for a throw. Red Bulls tried to combine. Blanco came away with it. He tried to go quick to Ibobasi, but Scarlett was there.
There's that counter-attacking from the Timbers that we saw so much of last year on their run to MLS Cup finalists. That teams they can feel.
Here come the Red Bulls now. Brian White has scored quickly from the Red Bulls. Epps to White, and the Red Bulls take a 1-0 lead.
Well, they cut so easily through the Timbers back line. And I mentioned this man in the opening, Marcus Epps, who's come across from Philadelphia Union. Great speed, very direct with his play. And you can see just as they're knocking the ball around, they find that space in behind. And Epps, it's rather easy for him. He just needs to pick up his head. He's done the hard part with the run and the timing. The ball is there to be met by Brian White. Does very well just to adjust his body, slows himself down at the right time, opens up his left foot, and then just has to redirect that ball.
The Red Bulls traded up in the waiver draft to take Marcus Epps with the first overall pick of that draft. They traded a second-round draft pick to San Jose to get that #1 spot. Epps waived by Philadelphia after playing 13 matches, 1 goal and 2 assists for the Union last year. Brian White, a 23-year-old, he was initially signed to Red Bulls 2 in March of 2018 after being a first-round pick in the draft. Then signed in August to the first team, played 5 matches at the end of the year for the Red Bulls for the first team. Had 10 goals in USL play for Red Bulls 2, had 1 on August 29th against Houston for the first team.
And look, Marcus Epps, he displaced David Akam, who was the big signing in and around $1 million that came across from Chicago Fire, who had a big season, to Philadelphia Union. Now, David Akam didn't have the greatest of seasons by any stretch last year. Talks about whether the hernia in the off season that he had prior to joining the Union, did it slow him down a little bit? Did it affect him? But Marcus Epps, part of it was his play, and he was so good on one side with Fafa Pico on the other side. That's where I say I'm surprised that Epps is no longer a Philadelphia Union player, and the Red Bulls making some great business bringing him across.
Timbers win the first corner of the match.
Chance now for the Timbers to react.
Diego Valeri will take this corner. Larry Smabiala heads it down, and Evan Lauro has to backpedal and catch it on his line. That was a clean look for Mabiala, who we know can bang in headers on corners.
It was a tough one. He started to make his run, then he realized it was coming to him, and so had to hit the pause button with his run. Standing jump. It was going to be difficult to get the power.
Mabiala now back doing the work on the defensive end.
Just prior to the goal I was going into with the Timbers and their counterattack being so good, and Chris Armas said this is the team where the Timbers could be defending for long stretches and you feel as though you're in control because you're in the front half playing, whereas matter of fact that's where the Timbers, they want you. They want to almost suck you in at times, and then they've got the speed, the creativity and the directness to go and hurt teams on the counterattack. And one part of what Chris Armas, he's talking about evolving this team. And one thing with the Red Bulls, they're almost their strongest when they're without the ball because they can win the ball back in high up positions, as I talked about earlier in the match. And he talked about that deliberate words. And part of that is being able to break down teams more. And so you see that there when they've won the ball, the Red Bulls, and then they're knocking around. Great passing behind. That's part of the game that they want to evolve as well, being able to break down teams a little bit more.
He said, how can we take a step forward in their tactical evolution? They have the press down. They want more ideas, more quality when they have the ball. And interesting what Chris Armas told us about the Timbers, about being in control. He said when the Timbers, they sit back in a deeper block, but they're in control of the match. They took them, again, all the way to MLS Cup. Of course, the Timbers losing to Atlanta United 2-0 in MLS Cup. New York losing to Atlanta United 3-1 aggregate in the Eastern Conference Finals. Villafana the cross. Dyrone Esprilla didn't make it to him. Scarlett with a header at the correct moment. Now Esprilla over at Bobusi's head. Red Bulls don't get it clear. Blanco. Oh, still Blanco. Now Villafana cutting it back. Bobusi, and it's blocked. It was Sean Nealis, and it's a corner for the Timbers.
Great play from the Timbers. It all starts from a very good, strong run from Villafana. Across the ball in, Scarlett makes a defensive header, but then it's that second phase, and the Timbers keeping the ball in that final third. Finding Villafana again, does well to cut the ball back in the Bobusi. But enough from the defender from the Red Bulls there to prevent the ball from going towards goal.
Nealis, an unsigned draft pick, second rounder from Hofstra. Getting the start at center back today. Valeri leaves it for Blanco. Now Valeri again. That didn't quite work like the Timbers wanted it to. Bezecourt takes it away. The Red Bulls will try to break. Ivan into space. Oh, Chara stumbled, gets back up, and takes it away. It was Omir Fernandez, the homegrown 20-year-old.
Well, there's your safety net on corner kicks. I looked when it failed for the Timbers, trying to create something a little bit different to work a different angle. But you had Diego Chara back there on the halfway line, so you always feel safe, even when he does have a little slip. Just a little missed touch there from Valentin. But that's an area for the Timbers. We talked about the defensive side of it. The manager, Savarese, he said to us yesterday, going forwards, he wants to make sure things have a little bit more sharpness, a little bit more zip in their play this year. Talked about this year, that progression from last year, and he thinks that there could be more flow and that greater speed when they're in their attacking phase.
Oh, Bobusi, that's a great ball to Dyrone Esprilla. Touch took him a little wide. Esprilla to Valeri. Over to Blanco, first time. Oh, and he took a knock from Duncan as well. It's a goal kick, and Blanco is down.
He's writhing in pain. He's been caught. Just when he's following through, he's taking the ball on the volley. And what happens there with the big swing, it ends up a big follow through, but Duncan, has he left the foot in here? It's an initial hold-up play from Bobusi, just over the top. Takes the spree in the space, but he does well here. Spree picks his head up, sees that there's no runs in the box, so instead of just putting a hopeless ball in, picks his head up, and he finds Valeri making up the play. Now this is where contact happens. Does Duncan? It looks like he pulls his foot away at time, but it does seem to be slight contact. The question would be, does Duncan continue to follow through? But he seems to retreat in his challenge. Still enough, though, of a coming together.
John McGregor and Taichi Kitagawa, the Timbers athletic training staff. Looking at that right foot of Sebastian Blanco's, that's not a sign, that's not a sight Timbers fans want to see. Blanco was so good last year, 10 goals, 11 assists, really took a step forward, and especially late at the end of the year. He had 7 goals, 5 assists in the Timbers' last 13 matches. That includes the playoffs. 13 playoffs and regular season combined, was such a catalyst in the run to MLS Cup.
It goes so much on the players' reactions. Hands on the head looks a bit of a worry. That's a little bit more positive a sign. That's Blanco's looking up to the referee. Just to your right of your screen, there's that collision now. Can't really see what part of the foot from Duncan is catching Blanco. Is it more Blanco's follow through into Duncan's blocking foot? Is it Duncan continuing his follow through? I think those are the questions the referee looks at. If it's Duncan continuing his follow through into Blanco, there's a problem then for the defender. But if it's Blanco's follow through and Duncan's retreating, then it's a challenge that's inevitable, and nothing to blame on Duncan. Just at the 18 line, you can see Duncan there, that left foot coming through. So it does catch him, this step on the foot. Could argue could be enough for a foul. I don't think any much more to it. I don't think there's big intent. I think Duncan's honestly going in for a challenge, and he does so happen to catch Blanco, but you could arguably call a foul with that follow through and the stepping on the foot.
Well, Blanco looks to be okay, which is a positive sign for Timber supporters, and you know, both teams. No team wants to see an opponent get injured in the preseason. Blanco waiting to be waved back onto the field. He's come back on himself, but is going to have to wait for the signal. Now he gets it officially back into the match. Here come the Red Bulls, direct for Andreas Ivan. Mabiala chasing for the Timbers. Reese Buckmaster back to Scarlett. Buckmaster again. Now Ivan. Tried to sneak it through to Fernandez. It's off of Guzman. A mix of first-team players, of unsigned draft picks, of Red Bulls 2 players out there for New York right now. Foul called against New York. Could have been Ivan, could have been Bezecourt. Those 2 guys first-teamers.
Just Guzman nowhere to go, and just that press from the Red Bulls. Look how many numbers are swarming around. In your screen, you can right away see 5 players just getting in and around the ball. So what they do, they force it into an area, and then they just slowly start to coil around you. And as we're seeing there, Cascante is getting away with one, perhaps dwelling too long on the ball. So against the Red Bulls team, if you're going to be playing out, then you have to be very sure with your passing. You have to make sure there's options on before you receive the ball. You see the pictures early.
Something that hasn't been easy for MLS teams to deal with. 22-7-5 last year, the Red Bulls record. 71 points, the best regular season in MLS history. They've won 3 of the last 6 Supporter Shields, 4 of the last 6 Eastern Conference regular season titles. And we have a video review. It appears Victor Rivas held the restart and is going to go to the monitor.
I just wonder if something off the ball has happened here. And there was a few players getting around the area of Blanco and Duncan, and I wonder if obviously Blanco from the last challenge, if he was unhappy, and if there's been some sort of altercation between Duncan and Blanco. Now here's the challenge. From what we're seeing, and the foul calls on Cascante. Maybe a bit fortunate, a little bit of a slip in there. I didn't think there was a whole lot of contact in there, but for me, this isn't what the referee is looking at. I think the referee has got something in his ear that there was something off the ball, and just going by the body language on the pitch of what we're seeing right now, whether it's between something with Blanco and with Duncan, and right now the goalkeeper for the Red Bulls is going over to have a word with Blanco as well.
Victor Rivas, the referee, watching the video review monitor. Under review, possibly something off the ball. Off camera, Rivas has seen enough.
That's the area of the pitch he's going to.
He's going to show a yellow card to both Duncan and Blanco. So yellow cards in of themselves are not reviewable. However, if Victor Rivas gets word from his video assistant referee, in this case Silviu Petrescu, that he should review something for a possible red card offense, he can go to the monitor and review it, and he's looking for a red card offense, and he can decide to give yellow cards instead of a red card. That's something you can do if the review is initiated for a possible missed red card offense.
And we don't know exactly what has gone on there. Obviously there was something, but you have to imagine whatever player would perhaps feel that they were guilty and could be in danger from the referee going to the screen, that they would be relieved only to see a yellow card. Now we don't know who is more of the guilty party between Blanco and Duncan.
And now it's Chara going down. It's Bezecourt coming from behind.
A little bit chippy, and we've seen this in preseason this year. A couple tackles going in. We tend to have the impression of preseason as just going through the motions and maybe pulling out of tackles. It hasn't been the case, and I think that comes more and more with the competition for places, players coming in, wanting to prove something when they have the shirt to the managers. Can't allow players just to coast by you, and Bezecourt catching Chara.
The center backs are forward for this set piece for the Timbers. Diego Valeri to serve, floats it to the back post. Oh, it falls to Asprilla, and then I think it's played beyond the Red Bulls' goal by one of their own, narrowly missing an own goal.
I think it's Nealis just in the end, the defender who sees the ball out. But the ball is, when he drops to Asprilla, comes onto his thigh. A little bit surprised to see that ball come through perhaps for Asprilla. Takes that touch, and then it's Nealis able to clear away.
They float this one to the back post. Blanco's volley is blocked. Valentin out wide to Valeri. Maybe another chance to cross. He's swarmed by a couple defenders who take it away. It was Velo and Ivan. Now Valeri's going to continue the press, and he forces just a clearance from the Red Bulls. Timbers get it back.
On a different page, Asprilla and Valeri, and Asprilla's just left one in on Buckmaster. Ball's gone, and he's just bundled into him. You can see, though, that this Red Bulls team, they are lively. They're full of energy, and they're fit as fiddles. Going around, it would seem that you play against, and you just have no time to breathe. You have no time to almost think. Because every time you're about to take your touch, you see, for the Timbers players right now, white kits surrounding you. So that's why you need to open up the mind a little bit more, and you need to see things before they happen.
Chris Armas, who you just saw, has just continued that style of play. Took over for Jesse Marsh mid-season last year on July 6th. And the Red Bulls continue to have the same success, even more so under Armas than they did under Marsh. They were 12-3-3 under Armas, 10-4-2 with Jesse Marsh.
It's a chance for Armas to have a preseason with his players. He talked about it, 34 players here. It's a chance for him to get his hands and his stamp on his team.
He told us they can't have, there are not enough days for him. He wants to be hands-on with every player as much as he can.
We were out there at training yesterday, and there seemed to be a good vibe about the Red Bull teams, the culture, the banter after training, the jokes going on, players all around one another. The little keys that you look for in a team. What's happening after a hard day's work, and when the guys are getting around stretching? Are they chatting with one another? Are they together? Are they having a little bit of a laugh? And we certainly saw that.
Obviously a strong culture in the Red Bulls organization that has brought them that success. Both these clubs, you must say, two of the teams with some of the stronger culture in MLS, and it's shown on the field. The Timbers have been to 2 of the last 4 MLS Cups. The Red Bulls have won 3 of the last 6 Supporter Shields. The next step for the Red Bulls, certainly, as Jeff Adanella came out of his area. I think he thought that was going to come into his box, had to use his head in the end, and it will be a corner kick for the Red Bulls.
That was an area against Seattle that the Timbers struggled down the left side of their defense. And we talked about it before the match started. Cascante and Villafania just getting their distances right together, that partnership starting to really hone in on what will work. And early on, we saw Marcus Epps, the pass going in, and there again, him getting in behind. Atanella did very well just to come out of his area and read the situation.
First corner for the Red Bulls today. Bezecourt serving it in a dangerous spot, and it's in! Victor Rivas looks, decides it's a goal for the Red Bulls, and it's 2-0.
Well, at first Atanella wants to complain to the referee, but you look at the players just getting in and around him, and it's a fair jump. Nealis has done well. It's a terrific ball, and there's so many bodies in and around the goalkeeper for the Timbers that he's unable to have a clear path to come and to gather. You can see he's being thrown off, and Nealis does his job. Gets over Mabiala and is enough just for him to steer the header towards goal. With Attinella out, it was an easy finish.
It may have come off Dairon Asprilla last, but that'll be Nealis' goal. Sean Nealis, a second-round pick of the Red Bulls, unsigned. Spent 4 seasons at Hofstra. Was his conference's Defensive Player of the Year a year ago, a Scholar All-American as well. 22 years old. And the New York Red Bulls, a young team, an inexperienced team, lead 2-0. They're looking for a third. White trying to lay it off, and Valentin there to clean it up.
Has to be said, it was a very strong header from Nealis, and for me, there's no foul there. And I just wonder with Mabiala, has he not jumped as high and as powerfully as what he would normally? Has he been given a shout from Attinella, so he's thought, right, I don't need to go for this one? But that is one still, if you're there and you're getting a sense that the goalkeeper's not going to come and claim, still have to start to go, and at the last second, if you feel assured the keeper's going to get it, then you start to turtle. Start to duck your head and allow the keeper to claim.
Villafana coming forward, the layoff from Valeri. Tried to get it back to Villafana, and he couldn't get it through. Guzman draws the foul. Sean Nealis, a big guy, 6'4". Big figure on the back line tonight. Clearly effective on set pieces as well.
And that's just it. You don't often see players getting an advantage over Mabiala coming up and rising above or out muscling. Mabiala last year, we saw it with Chad Marshall, but Mabiala had 2 goals in the game up at CenturyLink where Marshall had 1, so Mabiala, he got his own back.
Victor Rivas gives some instructions, and now Diego Valeri will take this restart. Dangerous ball, made it all the way through. There was a touch from Loro, and it's a corner for the Timbers.
He's done just enough, Loro. Always when you come, you have to make sure that you're seeing the ball out. And Loro does just that. First we thought he was scrambling, it was a good ball. Plenty of players around to cause confusion and to provide a block, but Loro just gets enough with his left fist.
Oh, Mabiala, again a look off a corner, and he couldn't direct that on goal.
Should do better. He's gone away, he's found this space. It's a great ball in. And there's enough on the pass coming in that Mabiala has got to worry just about the direction. You could see just from his reaction there going back. I think he knows himself.
Evan Loro, 3rd season with the Red Bulls. He's a homegrown, 23 years old, spent 3 seasons at the University of Michigan before signing with the Red Bulls. Has mostly been with the Red Bulls too the past 2 seasons. Has yet to play in MLS. Is likely their 3rd string keeper, Ryan Mera. Their backup is injured out about a month. Valeri looks for Asprilla. Asprilla tried it from a tough angle. He says it takes a deflection. He's right, so it's a corner, another one for the Timbers.
He's always looking a little bit hopeful there from Asprilla, but last couple games, Asprilla, he's had an impact in matches. And the game we saw Thursday against the Red Bulls, whenever he was getting into these areas, he always looked promising.
The corner knocked down by Asprilla, and then an acrobatic clearance by Andreas Ivan.
That from there, Char, that's a good ball. Zip on it, and I think for players and for the Timbers team, and if you just look at tonight, that little bit more zip, that testing the touch of your teammates to shift this defense for the Red Bulls, who travel so quickly across ground, but you start zipping that pass a little bit more, then they have to get there a little bit quicker, and they're already getting there as quick as they can, the Red Bulls, but that's what you need, just to give a little bit more time to the player on the ball receiving it.
Asprilla and Scarlett in a physical battle, and Asprilla couldn't get to the ball. He had an assist on Wednesday night, the game winner, so to speak, to Jeremy Bobasi in a 2-1 win for the Timbers over the Sounders. Came on for the last 30 minutes of that match. He gets the start tonight. It was Andy Polo against Seattle on that right wing. As we mentioned off the top, one of 3 changes that Giovanni Savarese made today. Ivan going through Zarek Valentin. Is it helpful in the preseason to have a physical match? The Red Bulls team has not been treating this certainly like a preseason match, and 2 weeks before the opener for the Timbers.
You want these preseason matches to simulate as much as you can the regular season matches. And so if they're so far off the pace, and whether that's the physical side of it, whether it's the challenges going in or the pacing of the play, the mental edge that you need, if it's so far off it, when you get to day one of the season, then you feel as though you've got a mountain to climb. Whereas if you're getting in the work now in preseason, then all of a sudden you get to that first game of the season, you think, right, my mind's been switched around this now for 6 weeks now, I'm used to this, and you feel right in the groove. So I do think you need this. As much as players at times will want to be able to stroll in the park in their preseason and turn it on at the start of the season, it's good for them. It gets you into the groove, I think, quicker into the regular season.
And for these guys out here for the Red Bulls, look, it's not Bradley Red Phillips, it's not Kaku, Aaron Long, Tim Parker, etc. As we mentioned, you know, a significant starting 11 plus a few, you could say, that aren't suited up tonight. But these are guys who all are either hoping to make game day rosters, get playing time in MLS, or if they're unsigned draft picks, they want to get signed, whether it be by the first team or Red Bulls 2. And if there's Red Bulls 2 guys, well, they want first team contracts as well. They want to make an impression in front of Chris Armas.
Every different player on the pitch right now, to your point, has a different goal in mind, what they need at the end of this time that they have, whether it's 60 minutes, whether it's their 90 minutes. And everybody's got something different to prove. And I think that's always the case. When you get into the regular season, it becomes more unified, and you start to think it's the team goal that you need. But at this point, as you mentioned, there's guys fighting for contracts, there's guys fighting for spots in the team, and it's a little bit more individual at this stage. Of course, at the end of the day, it's always a big individual element to the game. As much as it is a team game, you're always fighting for your spot in the team, you're always fighting for your jersey. And so that never ends. That individual element never comes out of it.
Ebobisse in a position battle, it would seem, with Lucas Milano in the preseason. Milano started on Wednesday against the Sounders. Ebobisse getting the start tonight. Did well to lay it off. Now Blanco looking for Valeri. Acrobatic from Jordan Scarlett.
Good run from Valeri, but equally good defending from Scarlett.
Red Bulls take it away. Chara cleaning it up, getting it back for the Timbers.
So right at place again. That's one guy you can never say doesn't look fit.
Here's Asprilla against Buckmaster, getting to the end line, and Buckmaster recovering and defending it well, but it's another corner for the Timbers.
Equally, Asprilla, very good. Nice couple step overs, and then he goes. He has his moment, his trick. But look at the defending from Buckmaster. His feet start to go all over the place. He gets turned around, which you never want to do as a defender, is show the back to the attacker. But he's got enough speed and the quickness over ground to recover and put in a smart challenge.
Another second-round pick of the Red Bulls. Valeri's corner, this one is dealt with. Blanco sending it back into Valeri, and the offside flag is up.
He's not happy with that, Valeri. He was looking down the line, and you thought that he pushed it right to the edge because he knew the ball would come from Blanco, when he was just trying to get right on that line so he could go towards goal when the ball came.
Volo looking for White, beyond him and to Jeff Adenella. Ebobisse getting into it, rather Nealis kind of getting into Ebobisse, and Nealis called for a foul. Guzman around Scarlett. Scarlett recovered. Maybe another kind of hand to the face, inadvertent to Guzman.
The space is there for the Timbers, isn't it, when they break that first line? And what I mean by that, that pass going into Guzman, instead of Guzman coming back towards the ball, he's realized, let me get further up the pitch. Let me go beyond the defensive midfield line, so get on the back sides of them. So if a pass comes through, then I'm looking at the back four. With so many players from the Red Bulls wanting to move towards the ball, and as we said, they like to squeeze. You need that bit of care on that passing to break through a line, and then all of a sudden then you're getting so many players on the Red Bulls turns and facing towards their own goal.
Ivan coming around Valentin. Low on the ground and easy for Jeff Adanella. Adanella goes quick. Blanco, he's trying to get it to Valeri. It was a little too hard. Scarlett sending it forward. Cascante just touching it into space. Valentin will run onto it. Asprilla. Guzman, I let it run to Valeri, but it was behind him. Taken away by Epps, and then a foul drawn by the Red Bulls. Homer Fernandez, a 20-year-old homegrown, spent 2 seasons at Wake Forest. 18 goals, 11 assists in those 2 seasons before being signed this January. US U20 call-up last month. Spent some time in the Red Bulls Academy. Big-time goal scorer for them. His final 2 seasons there, 42 goals in 56 matches.
Good composure from Valentin.
Ebobisse trying to turn around Scarlett. That came off Ebobisse last.
They're on him, aren't they, early? Ebobisse, whether he's trying to body them up or whether he's coming off that line and running towards the pass. They're following him in there.
Bezecourt broken up, taken away by Mabiala. Bezecourt shouted for a foul. We didn't get it. Here come the Timbers. Valeri over to Chara. Wrong ball, or rather maybe wrong run, but Ebobisse and Chara not on the same page. Ivan. Asprilla comes back to help, but gives it right back to New York.
That last burst from Chara, it's something we saw more of last year. Just his releasing runs from midfield. And I think back to that goal at Providence Park against RSL. It's one of, I said it at the time and I stand by it, it's one of the best midfield goals that I saw in the league last year because of the speed of his run, the timing, and then the control to which he saw at the very end to round Raimondo and score the goal. It's one that I'm sure many Timber supporters watch time and again. I know for myself, just to watch our replay when we did on the broadcast, he wasn't even on the screen when we were watching it, and how quick he came in. But look more and more for that, the releasing runs out of midfield to give extra numbers.
Asprilla going at Buckmaster, shot blocked. Buckmaster has dealt well with the speed and the power of Tyrone Asprilla on the right wing. Here's Blanco. Blanco stepping forward. Blanco hitting, takes a deflection. It's a tap in, but the flag comes up. Valeri thought he had the Timbers first. The flag is up. They can check this. Victor Rivas, I think, just you saw him point to his ear. He was telling Diego Valeri, we'll check it to make sure you were offside.
Was a solid strike from Blanco just when he gets on it. You can see there's a bit of space that opens up. He takes it on himself. We can't see from that angle whether Valeri, if we have a look now, when that ball is struck from Blanco, and Valeri does look to drift in an offside position.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official on the field.
Correct decision.
There'll be a minimum 2 minutes of added time. Victor Rivas, the referee, check is done. They saw what we saw. Valeri about half a body length offside.
Laura's done well there because the deflection coming off Nealis. He's had to readjust himself to keep that ball out, and then needed the help from the linesman, the assistant referee, which was the right decision to call Valeri off. He'd just gone a body length or so in the offside position.
There'll be a minimum 2 minutes of added time here in the first half. We're almost through the first. It's Brian White who was fouled. Had the first goal for New York in the 13th minute.
He's using his body well there, Brian White. Does well to use that strength because he starts to come towards the ball, and then he needs to keep his space, and so backing into Mabiala, that's not easy against the big, probably one of the stronger, certainly in the category for strongest center backs in the league. To hold off that weight to take a hit as well, to still try and control the ball, he did well.
Bezecourt to serve. Dealt with by the Timbers, at least momentarily. Now Scarlett back in for Volo. Buckmaster. Big switch over Duncan's head. Fernandez will get there. Mabiala steps up to win it. And then couldn't get the ball out from under his feet. Maybe one more chance in the first half. Bezecourt into Fernandez, now Epps. Bezecourt to White, over to Velo. Epps floating it to the back post. It's over White's head, and he's able to get there, but couldn't get any power behind the header. Now here come the Timbers. Maybe they'll have time for one more. No, they won't. Victor Rivas ends things in the first half. What a first half for this young New York Red Bulls team, taking on a group of theoretical Portland Timbers starters, a realistic starting lineup for the Timbers, and leading 2-0 at the half. Chris Armas, no doubt, will be pleased. Brian White and Sean Nealis, the goal scorers for the Red Bulls. We're going to take a break here in Tucson for halftime. We'll be back for the second half between the Timbers and the Red Bulls. At halftime, it is New York 2, Portland 0. Welcome back to the Keno North Stadium in Tucson, Arizona. The New York Red Bulls, a young New York Red Bulls team leading a group of theoretical starters for the Portland Timbers 2-0 at halftime. Here's the highlights of the first half. It was a really good effort from a group of inexperienced Red Bulls.
Well, I thought they showed great energy and great ideas as well. You can see that they're just full of the game and continuing to hound the Timbers, make sure they pressed. And even when a moment didn't come off, they were there to recover, make sure that they, in one-on-one situations defensively, they were blocking things. And then going forward, Marcus Epps, we talked about him, a lively right winger, trying to make his impression with the Red Bulls, having played with Philadelphia Union last year. Knocks it across, Brian White finishes, and then off a corner kick, the big center back Nealis, he overpowers Larice Mabiala, something you don't often say. And Jeff Atadala, who started to come, he couldn't get there.
13th and 32nd minute were the goals. Red Bulls, a young backline for them, playing very well against Timbers' first choice group. There's Reese Buckmaster doing really well against Daron Esprit. The Timbers thought that they had an equalizer late in the first half after a deflected shot. Diego Valeri, though, was offside.
It was the right decision. It was a good strike from Blanco, but equally a great save from Laurel, because it takes one deflection off of Laurel, but Valeri, when the ball was struck, he was in an offside position.
So it's 2-0 the New York Red Bulls at halftime. The Portland Timbers have made one sub at the break. Andy Polo has come on for Daron Esprit on the right wing. That is sure to be a great position battle to watch for the remainder of the preseason, into the season as well.
Yeah, a chance for Andy Polo coming on now second half to make an impression.
The Red Bulls have made at least one change as well. Two changes from the Red Bulls. Oh, just one change for the Red Bulls. Florian Velo out, Ben Mines is in. Ben Mines, an 18-year-old. Timber supporters will remember him at 17 years old, scoring a goal on March 10th on his MLS debut. In fact, the only game he's ever played in Major League Soccer. Blanco going down. Him and Duncan got into it in the first half on multiple occasions, and Blanco wins a restart for the Timbers.
Yeah, it's been a constant back and forth between the young right back and the experienced Blanco. Just trying to use his body, put it across. You can see his right arm is just reaching for that block. And Duncan, he can become annoyed sometimes as a defender if you're getting that hand to the face, decides to go in.
Here come the Red Bulls. Marcus Epps, formerly with the Philadelphia Union, coming around Guzman and then coming around Cascante, but Cascante recovering and taking it away.
Just looked a little bit out of steam, Marcus Epps, and that's his strongest point with the Union last year, was getting into wide areas and just running at the fullbacks there. He was in two minds.
Here's Andy Polo, the halftime sub for the Timbers. Trying to get it to Jeremy Bobasi. It's cut out by Jordan Scarlett. Nice turn from Diego Valeri. Valeri trying to chip Evan Loro, who read it well and then did very well to keep that in play, keep it from going out with his momentum for a corner.
Good idea from Valeri. Wonder how much this would have been going towards target. Whether Loro was, not sure if there was a deflection there, if Loro was trying to keep it from going for a corner kick more than anything.
Brian White might be behind. Mabiala chasing. White goes down, and it's a penalty. Victor Rivas immediately pointing to the spot. The New York Red Bulls with a penalty early in the second half.
My initial feeling is this is the wrong decision, because as that ball goes across, just watch the right leg of Mabiala come in. Does he get a touch to the ball? Now it's a little bit clumsy there on the second look from it. This will give us a better view of it. As Brian White is going through, Mabiala, for me, gets a touch on the ball. And that is the wrong decision from the referee. Now, Brian White has done everything he could to put his body across, but still, the ball is there to be won. The line is there for Mabiala. And for me, he gets a touch.
Victor Rivas with the finger to the ear. That means there's a check ongoing. He's communicating with his video assistant referee, Silvio Petrescu. Every penalty kick situation is checked by the video assistant referee. They'll take a good look at this one, you assume, for the reasons, Ross, that you brought up.
Does he get a clear touch on it? And from what we've seen there, he does. A ball over the top still. It should be defended better. The Timbers should be dropping off. They shouldn't have to be scrambling. But does Mabiala get a touch? It's faint, but he does get a touch, and it's enough for me. That is a clean challenge, and it shouldn't be a penalty.
Victor Rivas still holding for the check. And he is going to take a look. He gave the video review sign, so he's going to come over and take a look at the monitor. Now, if they take the penalty kick away, is that touch deliberate enough of a back pass to Jeff Fadanella where Adenella wouldn't be able to use his hands, or you're good with Jeff using his hands?
It's a great question, but no. It's not a deliberate back pass. Now, some defenders, when you're in your mode and things slow down for you, you do think, can I get this touch onto the keeper? But first and foremost, you're thinking about a challenge. So to answer your question, that is not a deliberate back pass. It's a great question. It's a challenge first and foremost, and so it shouldn't be punishable for Jeff Atenella picking the ball up.
Victor Rivas looks like he's seen what he needs to see, and now we await his decision. He takes the ball back from Brian White. That's a good sign for the Timbers. He's giving him an explanation. It wasn't from Brian White, it was from Andreas Ivan. But he has taken the penalty away from New York, and he has given the Timbers a drop ball.
And he has given Jeff Atenella a sore ear, blowing the whistle right in him. But look at the right leg from Mabiala. This is, and there's your touch. It's a great angle, slow speed there. Quite clearly you can see there's a touch there, and it's good from VAR. That's right from the video assistant referee to make sure he's getting in the ear of the middleman to say wrong decision, clear and obvious for me, and correctly overturned.
The second review we've had today, one that took Timbers' goal off the board correctly or actually confirmed the decision. That was a check, excuse me. I'm toward one that gave 2 yellow cards to Blanco and Duncan. Then we had a check of the offside decision for Valeri that was gotten right originally. And now we have this penalty kick initially given and then take it away. But all 3 situations, that kind of big match-changing situations, so to speak. You assume we got right, though. We still haven't seen what happened between Blanco and Duncan away from the ball that led to those 2 yellow cards and the video review.
Just going back to that, though, I mentioned it prior, but that ball shouldn't get into that situation. And so from a manager's standpoint, Coach Savarese will be thinking one ball shouldn't beat our entire back line to get us turned in behind, and we're having to scramble to put in emergency tackles.
Villafana. Big switch from Blanco over to Andy Polo. Chara into Blanco, touch over to Valeri. Valeri trying to send it across. Loro is there, and the offside flag comes up on Diego Valeri.
There's great passage, though, from the Timbers. Swapping it to one side, back in, and there's your gap. All of a sudden, when that ball's been transferred to the other side, then as the defensive lines are switching, are moving across, the opening happens, and it just about comes off for the Timbers. It's interesting, we saw at halftime both sets of managers having words with their players, and you can imagine there was 2 different zones and 2 different messages going on. But ultimately, it still comes down to both managers wanting to build with their team. And for Giovanni Savarese, he was quite animated. He was quite demonstrative with his players, but it must be a predicament as well for him, because these players have training in their legs, and what I mean by that is they're still putting in the loads and the minutes on the training ground, so they're not as fresh as what you would see for a normal game day. They're not getting the proper build up to what you would see to make sure that their bodies are at their absolute flying best come the game day. So they're still having a bit of heaviness in their legs. And to be fair, the Red Bulls were not privy to as much training. We saw some of their training yesterday, so we don't know exactly their loads. But for the Timbers players, there'll be some tired bodies on there, so they're predicting them a manager. You want to be upset with them for certain things, but at the same time, you recognize they're not as fresh as what would be during the regular season.
There's still 2 weeks to go for the Timbers before their MLS season opener against Colorado. You expect next week to be closer to that, right? Closer to a regular game week, kind of a dress rehearsal. It'll culminate with a match on Saturday against Real Salt Lake. Blanco again has gone down for the 2nd time today. Now he's holding on to his knee. The Timbers are playing on for now. I don't think they see Blanco down, and Larry Mabiala does, and he sends it out. As Blanco quicker to his feet this time. But it has not been an easy night for the Timbers designated player, Sebastian Blanco.
And look, the ultimate goals for the managers are for players to be healthy and for fitness, and it's a strong challenge coming in. Scarlett's released himself. He's come in, he's got the ball, but he's got the man as he's coming across as well. That is a heavy, heavy challenge. The referee's in a good position, you would say, and he does get the ball. Blanco thinks so, with enough of the contact coming through that it should be a foul on the edge of the area.
Blanco running well, chasing after the ball from Cascante as Nealis plays it out for a throw. Blanco wants to go quick into Valeri, try to leave it for Villafania, dealt with by Ben Mines.
It is interesting, though. We're chatting to a couple of the bright soccer minds of the Red Bulls organization, background staff, and we were comparing the Thursday match with what looked to be the first team of the Red Bulls against a secondary choice team of the Timbers, and the secondary choice of the Timbers were arguably better. And it's almost flipped around here tonight with the first team of the Timbers playing up against the secondary Red Bull sides, and the secondary Red Bull sides are more at it.
You can get that in the preseason, can't you? And you get that in the regular season, no doubt. It has been a good effort from the Red Bulls, a 2-0 lead. The high press from them, Ben Mines forcing Julio Cascante to send it over towards Larry Mabiala, who can't get there, can't keep it in play. Bezecourt. Ivan. Oh, he's a good ball, and it's taken away at the last moment from Villafania. He was looking for Epps, and Villafania sliding in to send it away.
That is some ball from Ivan. But equally, Villafania is defending. Does so well here because that ball is whipped. That is coming with pace, and the skip off the deck. Villafania's had to keep his concentration, and he's done that so well. It's interesting, Jake, in warm-ups, I was watching the Red Bulls and how they prepared to get the players ready. They were doing a lot of this, getting the ball wide and whipping it in for strikers. That is some ball from Ivan, but again, Villafania, great defending.
Bezecourt's corner, it made it to Scarlett. He couldn't direct it on frame. Polo into space for Villafania. There's room to hit on the counter if the Timbers can go quick enough. Polo. And the Red Bulls have recovered. Cascante to Ibobasi. Gets there before Duncan. Ibobasi just hounded by Nealis.
Didn't really have support around them.
Duncan comes around Guzman. Now Epps. Guzman trips up Duncan. We play on advantage, and it might be a big advantage for New York. Mines to White. He couldn't get a touch.
Was well worked from the Red Bulls, starting with Duncan and his powerful run. Then Epps just sucking in Cascante, who comes out of position, and it's there for White. Right on a plate for him, as Mines just sets it across, whether it comes too quickly onto White, but still he should be adjusting his feet, the big striker. He's got the run of his defender, and that's a big chance.
David Guzman was shown a yellow card for the foul in the buildup that was played advantage by the referee. So Guzman and Blanco on yellow cards for the Timbers. Duncan's also on a yellow from earlier in the match. He was the victim of the foul from Guzman.
Just a nice, clever run, strong run from Duncan, but there's the challenge from Guzman, just catching him as Duncan's running across his recovery run.
Yellow card to number 20 for Portland, David Guzman.
Valeri behind Ibobasi. Now Villafania. Blanco has room. Blanco looking for Ibobasi. Knocked out by the Red Bulls for a corner.
Worked it well, the Timbers, though, from Valentin all the way to the opposite side with Blanco. Good from Ibobasi. His second movement, laid the ball off and got right away in between the two goalposts. Just saw Giovanni Savarese at halftime having an extra word with Ibobasi, and what I could insinuate was that it was his hold-up play.
Valeri's corner. Again, it gets to Mabiala, and again, he can't direct it on goal.
It's a chance. He wants a word with the referee here. He thinks he's been impeded. Right there, you can see from Mabiala saying he's pushing me. But Mabiala, he was there. It was an opportunity for him. And another good ball from Valeri.
Buckmaster into White. He was offside. Rather, it was Ivan. 24-year-old Romanian, signed mid-season last year. Played in 9 matches, started 1. Got 2 substitute appearances in the playoffs for the Red Bulls.
Just seen off your screen, Blanco. He's having a look at Tonelli. He's trying to get his attention. I think he was wanting the ball kicked out to him with everybody pressing on that side of the pitch. Blanco is trying to keep himself as wide as possible.
Valeri goes down, and the foul against Sean Nealis.
A little harsh from the referee. Didn't feel that it was in the exact spot that the challenge happened, that the free kick should be retaken.
Andy Polo.
The referees, of course, being evaluated as well. We're talking about the players and having to win a spot. Referees are having to impress.
Valeri trying to get it into Ebobisse. Nealis gets it away. That's why it might be surprising for people to see, hey, there's video review in preseason games. Why is that? It's for the referees. They're in preseason as well, trying to get sharp on everything before the season starts. Here comes Marcus Epps for New York. Epps, Duncan runs into Cascante. Epps gets around Guzman, whips it in. It's through the area and past everyone. Jorge Villafana is still down in the midfield for the Timbers.
Looked like he was holding on to his foot from the challenge, the top of his right foot, and just slow to get to feet.
Jeff Adenell's going to play him the ball. He's not going to even go for it. Epps.
As up you get, Adenella.
Turning around Guzman. Epps sending it in. Brian White sends it over. The flag did come up. Now, Brian White has had some opportunities today. He has a goal, the first one in the 13th minute.
He's making the runs, he's getting there. But he could have more if he was a bit more ruthless in that final moment with his final touch. But Marcus Epps, again, it's a clever ball from him. Just in behind the line, and nobody's tracking Brian White.
Brian White spent 4 years at Duke, where he was teammates with his opposite striker tonight, Jeremy Ebobisse. Ebobisse spending just 2 years at Duke before turning pro. Polo to Guzman. Guzman over to Blanco. Villafana overlapping Blanco. He thought about taking it himself. Now he chips it in, looking for Ebobisse. Oh, it's headed in. If it came off Ebobisse or a New York defender, the Timbers have gotten one back. It's 2-1.
Well, he's done so well here, Ebobisse, because there's still a bit to do, and he's had to put his body on the line. He's had to use his strength. And this is a goal that's filled with determination, because when Blanco, he stands it up, there's a body around Ebobisse. Look how well Blanco does to stand this up. Ebobisse has to go and get it. Now, how much of it comes off the contact of Ebobisse? But still, he's got 2 defenders around him, and he's overpowering both of them. And so he's forcing their balance to be off. And so whether the final touch is on a green or a white kit, should be credited to Ebobisse, because he's done so much work there to put the defenders in trouble.
Yeah, he'll take it. Hard to tell who the last touch was off of, but Jeremy Ebobisse, for now, his second goal in 2 matches here in Tucson. And 2-1 for the Timbers. New York will make a substitution after the goal. Jean-Christophe Kofi will come on. Vincent Bezecourt will come off. Kofi, a homegrown, signed this offseason. Actually signed last year in the middle of the year, but not effective to the first team until January 1st. Blanco whistled for a foul. He doesn't like it. Kofi, who came in for New York, didn't come up through the Red Bulls Academy. He came up through DC's Academy. The Red Bulls liked him. He was 3 seasons at Virginia, and they traded for his homegrown rights and signed him. Ivan back to Duncan. Fernandez stepping forward. Andres Flores also came into the match after the goal. He came on for Diego Chara. Ivan sending across to the back post, nobody there. So each team making a sub. Each team has made 2 subs today. Unlimited subs, of course. It's the preseason. Here's Andy Polo showing off his speed, but then not able to connect with anybody. Villafaña, strong challenge. It's clean. Blanco over to Valentin. Polo cutting inside. Now going over to Blanco. Guzman. Blanco all over the field, trying to get on the ball. Here's Valeri, through for Ebobisse, but Laurel quick off his line, and Nealis defending well, also to keep Ebobisse away from it.
Their moves to what the Timbers have been showing the second half have been much better than the first half. Moving off the ball, the spaces they're running into, the timing has been much better. Flores, as he's seen some of the first touches in this game for him. We chatted to Giovanni Savarese about the game against Seattle, and he said about Flores, or rather the Red Bulls game, Flores, he was so impressed with him, and that was the Red Bull game on Thursday. So it does what Flores always does for me. He's dependable just in the center of the midfield. And a couple other players I think I've mentioned because it wasn't available for supporters to see. Tomas Konechny, I thought impressed in that game as well.
We expect to see Tomas Konechny in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, and a whole host of changes around the 70th, 75th minute mark for the Timbers. Here's Andreas Ivan drawing a foul from Andres Flores, and a dangerous free kick upcoming for the Red Bulls.
The Red Bulls just getting in behind the defensive side of the midfield for the Timbers. And Ivan, he does well just to use his body. He knows the challenge is coming from Flores. He's just waiting for that moment, and it's enough that Flores is bundling into Ivan. Tried to play quick, and Flores just standing over the ball.
Who will get this for the Red Bulls? Ivan and Mines are there. It is Andreas Ivan. It takes a deflection off the wall, and that goes out for a Red Bulls corner. And that might be the last kick of the match for Andreas Ivan as the Red Bulls prepare 2 substitutions. It's Ivan and Epps coming out, Jared Stroud and Tom Barlow coming on. Epps an assist on the first goal, and I know you're impressed with him once again tonight, Ross.
I thought he did well, and I thought his directness and his ability to get him behind really showed. I thought he tired in the second half, even though he was still having an impact. But again, I go back to what a pickup from the Red Bulls, and surprised that's all they had to send was a second-round draft pick to San Jose Earthquakes.
And to get that #1 spot in the waiver draft. Here's a corner for the Red Bulls. Sent well outside of the area, and Andy Polo will carry it away, but Jean-Christophe Kofi was there for New York. Blanco chasing. He's been buzzing in the second half. He's taken a couple knocks today, and I think that's served to motivate Sebastian Blanco.
It always seems to, doesn't it? But Blanco always seems to be in some kind of altercation.
Villafaña over to Ebobisse. He couldn't get his touch right.
But he's the type of player that gets going with that. His personality, he's a big personality off the pitch, and it shows on the pitch with him. You always know Blanco's in a game.
Here's Ben Mines, has White in the middle. Instead, it goes over to Stroud. Barlow is there, and it's right at Jeff Adanella. The 2 substitutes getting in on it. Jared Stroud, a Red Bulls 2 player. He was a 4th-round pick last year, so he's in his 2nd year with Red Bulls 2. And Tom Barlow, also Red Bulls 2 player, 2nd-round pick a year ago. Here comes New York. White again the target. And another goal kick for the Timbers.
Pass just a little bit off of that. Cascante did a nice job in that situation, just bumping White at the last second. And at times, Cascante, I felt as though he needs to get a hold of this game a little bit. And what I mean by this is the positioning of him. He's getting strung out just a little bit at times. His decision when to come off the back line and step into midfield or when to recover. The gaps in between him and Villafania, I think it could be tightened up a little bit.
Blanco running at Duncan. Blanco getting around Duncan, going down, penalty. Blanco earns a penalty. Duncan the foul, and the Timbers a chance to equalize from the spot.
Well, they've been going at it for various reasons tonight. The right back, Duncan and Blanco, throughout the match. And in this situation, Blanco goes at Duncan while on the ball. So quick from him, it's so direct. You can see he can go right or left, and so that plays in the defender's mind. And there's the left arm that goes across. But where that initial contact happens, it's that left arm there. Does he catch Blanco in the heel? Is it the right heel, I think? Initially you thought it was the left arm, but I actually think the referee's seen the clip of the heels of Blanco. Little complaint from Duncan, and the referee points to the spot.
And Blanco, he's taken some knocks, and he's been influential, especially in the second half, trying to get the Timbers back into this match. And Diego Valeri steps to the spot. He had a penalty goal against Seattle on Wednesday. He was 3 for 4 from the spot in 2018. Valeri gets Luro to go the wrong way, and the Timbers have tied the match through the Diego Valeri penalty kick.
No doubt at all from Valeri. So number 8 steps 12 yards away and blasts it into the top corner. How strong a penalty this is. Just waiting for the referee's whistle. Nice and composed. Puts his foot right through it into the top corner as Luro goes the other way. Strong penalty.
Valeri's second of the preseason, his second here in Tucson, and the second of the night for the Timbers, who are now tied 2-2. Portland made 2 substitutions after that penalty kick. Lucas Milano, who you see up top, number 26, has come on for Jeremy Ibobasi, and Tomas Konechny has come on the left wing for Sebastian Blanco.
Well, it has been better this second half from the Timbers. Going forward, there's more ideas, better movement, there's better quality about their play. Now it's a chance for Milano to come on. He would have felt going into the Seattle match, perhaps he's in the driver's seat.
He had 3 goals in 2 matches in Costa Rica. Jeremy Ibobasi, who became the starter at the end of last year, had just 8 minutes in the first 26 games before earning that starting spot on the run to MLS Cup. But he was away with the U.S. national team, which isn't a bad thing. It's a great thing, obviously. During the month of January, got his first cap after the January camp in the friendlies.
Different position for him as well, playing outside on the left-hand side. The Chelsea Zardy's playing as the striker under Greg Berhalter.
We've seen him there for T2 in the past, but it certainly seems more like a number 9. Now it's a giveaway from the Timbers. Red Bulls try to take advantage all the way across and just out of the reach of Omer Fernandez.
Was so close for Fernandez and the Red Bulls. They've done a good job at getting to the end line and getting the ball across, and it's a miscue as the Timbers, they concede possession in a terrible area. And the Red Bulls so close to making it 3.
Valeri forward towards Konechny. Buckmaster defending, and Konechny called for a foul. 20-year-old Tomas Konechny in his second season with the Timbers, his first full one. He was signed last July. Played just 72 minutes last season. I think he would probably hope for more than that, more of an impact this year as the Timbers prepare the rest of their line changes. They've made 4 substitutions so far. They're going to make 7 right now. A full swap out of the starting 11 coming. As they play to, the starting 11 plays to 2-2. Probably wouldn't be happy with the first half. Feel better about the second half, I'd imagine.
And the reaction from the manager, we talked about it. We could see both sets of managers having words with their players at halftime. Certainly, Coach Savarese was having a word with his team, so of course he would be more pleased. But still, I can imagine with Savarese, he would be wanting to see more of that from the off, from the first whistle. But the reaction was there.
Strong support here for the Timbers. The Desert Corps, the Arizona chapter of the Timbers Army, always comes out in good numbers here in Tucson. So on the field now for the Timbers. In goal, it's Steve Clark. The left back is Roy Miller. The center backs Claude Dielna and Bill Tuiloma. The right back is Marco Farfan. Christian Paredes and Andres Flores are in the midfield. Tomas Konechny on the left wing. Marvin Loria in the middle. Andy Polo on the right. And Lucas Milano is up top.
They just about got themselves out of the press from the Red Bulls. And we talked about the individual element to this preseason. It's always around for matches, but players trying to win their shirt, trying to win their place in the team. And right now for the center backs, Dielna and Tuiloma, they'll feel right. Can I be pairing beside Mabiala come day one of regular season?
Big run from Farfan. Polo instead sending it in over the head of Lucas Milano. Well, they've brought energy this second group.
And that's just it.
And urgency.
Well, these players would have been watching what was going on, and they'd be thinking, right, the manager's not happy with them, not the best game from the so-called first-team players. Right, I've got a chance now to go on and make a better impression. That was a good ball in from Milano. I don't know if he thought it was behind them, if it was too heavy of a player behind him, but he still should be attacking it. Should have scored against Seattle. In the first half, there was a ball near stick. I think it was Blanco who played it in, and Milano didn't get on the end of it.
Farfan serves it in, cleared away. Here come the Red Bulls. White with Dielna chasing. Fernandez looking for Mines. Roy Miller heading it away. Roy Miller, former Red Bulls player, of course, 2010 to 2015, 125 matches with the Red Bulls.
Just such a consummate pro, isn't Roy Miller? Just his personality around the club. I think it's such an influence, him on the training ground. He's a calm voice, he's a quiet voice, but he's a sturdy voice.
He's here as a guest player. He's unsigned at this time. Here's Lucas Milano from a tough angle, forcing a save out of Evan Loro. And nobody there to take advantage of the rebound.
This is a surprise strike, but one that I think Milano felt should take on. He had no support.
There's Miller again. He's been good in the first 5 minutes of his time in, and he's going to come forward. Tomas Konechny. Back across. Andy Polo takes a touch. Still Andy Polo, and it's out for a corner.
Well, Scarlett, he's done very well here in the end to make a challenge, but he's been left off the hook because Polo taking, well, you would think too many touches. There's your chance to step on the ball and hit it first time. But as soon as he takes the touch, it gives the defenders a chance to recover, and Scarlett does just that. It's a good ball from Konechny. Finds Polo, but there's that touch, and all of a sudden the angle's not in his favor anymore and allows Scarlett a chance to get the tackle in.
Well, the match has really opened up now with the Timbers making their line change. The corner from Konechny is out for another one. Andy Polo, he came on at halftime. 23 matches, 18 starts a year ago, just 1 goal, 2 assists. Was with Peru for the World Cup. Didn't appear in the World Cup for Peru, but on the roster. In his second year in Portland. Marco Farfan floating it to the back post. Bill Tuiloma heading it across into a dangerous spot. Still not clear by New York, and Loro goes up to get it.
There's an added energy, as you already touched on, Jake, with the substitutes coming on now. It's as though they're thinking, I only have a little bit amount of time to get on there and make an impression. They just get flying around. Let me get on the ball. Let me do something that can be memorable in the right way.
Barlow, Mines goes down, and a foul called on Christian Paredes. 18-year-old Ben Mines, homegrown signing, second season with New York. Played mostly with the Red Bulls 2 last year. It was Paredes knocking him down.
Paredes just catching Mines as he's going through.
Red Bulls will make another substitution. It'll be Janos Luba, unsigned first-round draft pick, 22 overall, coming into the match. Reese Buckmaster comes out. Set piece, good ball in from Jared Stroud. And out for a corner. Timbers don't agree with that. Stroud will come to take it. Had 11 assists last year, led Red Bulls 2, also 7 goals on a real high-scoring Red Bulls 2 team. 71 goals for them. The corner goes over everybody. Mines chases it down. Farfan after him. Timbers win it. Konechny forward into space, looking for Marvin Loria. Defended by Duncan. Loria doesn't have any support, and he sends it out of play anyway.
It's a player we're so interested in watching more and more, aren't we? Marvin Loria. So what he did at T2 last year, what he did when he got called into the first team for the U.S. Open Cup against San Jose, he's impressed so much.
Good ball from Milano. Polo cutting it back, and again, Andy Polo sending it in. Flores heading it over the goal. Good look for Andres Flores.
That should be a goal from Flores. As Polo, he's done so well. So he's just running in, a little cut back, and then again, just drags it and lofts it up nicely. Flores was pulled away. There's nobody around him. It's almost as though he's had too much time to think. Just turns Luba inside and out, and then as he drifts it up, and Flores, he gets underneath a wild clearance from him, and it was on his favorite left foot. He's playing in the right back position. But I know there were a few people impressed with him being in that position, the right back, cutting back onto his left foot when he played there against the Red Bulls on Thursday.
Loria, Duncan chasing after it. Loria whistled for a foul. Loria last year was with T2. 31 matches for T2. There's Kyle Duncan. He's played the whole match. Coming back from an ACL tear, suffered on March 31st. Loria, 31 matches with T2 a year ago, 6 goals, 7 assists. Tielna gets it clear. One of 2 players Loria was signed to the first team from Timbers 2 in the offseason. Rento Zambrano the other. And here's Kyle Duncan for New York. Mines went down behind the play. Duncan trying to get around Miller.
Confident on the ball, isn't he, Duncan?
In between Miller and Konechny. Fernandez flicking it over. Miller coming back and eventually getting it away for the Timbers. That's a real nice touch from Andy Polo, and here come the Timbers. It could be a 5-on-2 if they go fast enough, and Jordan Scarlett taking advantage of a heavy touch from Andy Polo and sweeping it away.
Well, he's looked so much more like it, Andy Polo, so much more lively. Nice little flick from him, good bit of skill, and then he's off to the races. Nobody was catching him. Only that heavy touch allowed Scarlett to come in and put in a challenge.
That's where you want to see him for the Timbers, right? In space, moving forward.
You think of his goal last year that he scored at Providence Park, starting at the edge of his own 18, and it ended up finishing with an acrobatic kick on the end line. It's what you want to see more of, him getting out into the open space, but he's first got to find that open space and then running at teams.
Jared Stroud. Tuiloma comes over to defend, and that was off of Tuiloma last. New hair color for Bill Tuiloma. It's like new as of 24 hours ago, I think.
Yeah.
I saw him a couple days ago. Didn't look like that.
No, I saw him around the resort today and was wearing a baseball cap. I was with a couple of coaching staff, and when he took it off, he said, "What do you think?" And the heads went back and went, "Well, it's different."
Played in 13 matches, 7 starts a year ago. In a position battle for sure at center back. Strong punch from Steve Clark, one-handed, and Andy Polo chases it down. Here he comes, has Loria on the right, plays it a little bit behind him. Loria will keep it in play, but then Luba is able to send it out for a throw.
Just a bit more quickness going forward for the Timbers, isn't it, in terms of their running speed compared to the players who were on the pitch before. You can see that when Polo's getting on the ball, he's looking to run. Loria's running forward. Milano, we saw him against Seattle making good runs, either in between defenders or in behind.
Konechny tried to flick it on to Miller, didn't get it right. Roy Miller tore his Achilles tendon the last practice of 2017, the day before the second leg in the Western Conference semifinals against Houston, a series that the Timbers lost. He was slated to start that match at center back. Had such a good, versatile year for the Timbers that year. Missed all of last season and is now trying to show that he's healthy again. Scarlett has been active today defensively for New York. Here's Milano turning at the end line. Did he keep it in play? He did. And he draws a foul. A set piece coming for the Timbers.
He's looked more tidy to me this year. Preseason, Milano won the ball. Situations like that, tight areas, having to manipulate the ball. And you can see he has control of it. Whereas in the past, things could become heavy touches, where he looks like a man with ideas that are clear and he's able to execute them more.
Konechny will take. Flores over as well. It'll be Konechny. Cleared away by New York. Miller heading it back to Konechny. Now to the back post, over the head of Tuiloma. Here's Dielna. The big center back is going to send a cross in. Cleared away by the Red Bulls. Barlow was there defending. Timber still coming forward. Here's Andy Polo. Polo puts it wide. That took a deflection. Saved by Loro. Big one with Andy Polo looking to give the Timbers the lead.
Well, it was great movement as the Timbers press in. Watch where Andy Polo starts, and he continues his run. Good interchange with Flores, and he's looking to go himself. And it's off the right shoulder of Loro. Good save. He stands up as long as he can.
Timbers take the corner quick. Knocked down, not clear, and now it is.
Again, we saw this last year with the Timbers in preseason. The second team, when they were coming on, they were implementing, you felt, everything that the manager was wanting from them, and it was more the first team, getting the buy-in, getting the players up to speed. We're seeing it tonight, the energy, the positivity.
Loria. Konechny to Loria. To the end line. And he couldn't keep it in play.
Again, we talked about it in the broadcast, though. It was similar to Chris Armas and his side. The Red Bulls, his first team, they weren't at their best against a secondary Timbers team on Thursday. And then his secondary Chris Armas team tonight have impressed more than the Bradley Wright Phillips, than the Kakus that we saw on Thursday. He must keep the managers up at night.
And so it goes in preseason. Those guys you mentioned, Bradley Wright Phillips, Kaku, and the rest, the team that, the core of the team, starters, 10 of the 11 are back that set the MLS record last year for points in the season. They'll play on Wednesday night in the Dominican Republic in CONCACAF Champions League play against Atletico Pantoja, the first of a two-leg series in the round of 16. They're, that first group at least, further ahead than the Timbers fitness-wise. And the Rebels have been in preseason a little bit longer as well because of that early start to the season.
Part of that, when you try and find reasoning, I think, for managers, is the urgency of players. And you can get the players in a formation. There's a style that you want to play. Of course, you need to do the right things, get in the right positions. But what you're seeing is the urgency. When this Timbers team, since the substitutions have come on, and for the most part, the Timbers in the second half, there's an urgency, there's a commitment to their play.
Andy Polo to the end line. Can he get there? It's defended well by Luba. The Red Bulls also have a match on Wednesday here in Tucson against FC Tucson. That will be, for all intents and purposes, Red Bulls 2. We saw that last year. Red Bulls 2 kind of came and finished up the Mobile Mini Sun Cup for New York. Still playing as the New York Red Bulls, but realistically it was the USL team led by John Wolenek with the first team playing in CCL. Timbers have a match on Wednesday night here in Tucson as well against Phoenix Rising. Brian White has been subbed out of the match for New York. Brian White has come out of the match, and nobody's come on for him. They didn't have another field player on the bench, so whether or not he's injured, the Red Bulls are playing with 10 men at the moment. There is Brian White. Scored the opening goal of this match in the 13th minute. Marco Farfan draws the foul. Timbers go quick, and we saw that earlier from Victor Rivas.
Very picky.
Little too far away from where the foul was committed. Konechny cutting inside. Loria back to Konechny. Gets it to Loria. Farfan wide to Polo. Now Loria, Scarlett out to defend. His cross is blocked. Milano trying to get there and does, but he fouled Ben Mines to do so. There'll be a minimum 2 minutes of added time. Lucas Milano is upset, and he's been shown a yellow card.
Well, he's been given it for slamming the ball on the deck. He's not happy with the challenge. It did look shoulder to shoulder. As his ball is bouncing, it's there to be won. As he comes in, maybe gets the back of Mines enough. But it's right here, that's what gives him the yellow card. Is his visual dissent to the referee. You would say the referee's in a good enough position. Be a little bit tough, but Mines showing enough of his back.
Konechny, touch over to Miller. Here comes Miller with room down the left side. Still Roy Miller, cutting it back towards Konechny, and that's defended really well by the Red Bulls as Tomas Konechny thought he had an opportunity from the top of the box. It was Jared Stroud back defending.
So we get back to playing, seeing things quickly, and that ball coming into Konechny. One touch around the corner, and he's gone again.
Loria off the post. What a strike from Marvin Loria. So close to a winner for the Timbers.
Oh, you knew it was going close as soon as he hit it. He has just stepped onto this ball so confidently. Nice combination play. Steps on it, hits it first time. That ball is flying. That ball picks up speed as it's traveling. And a great shot here in Laurel. It's completely beat. Nothing he can do. Fortunate he's got the post there to save him. What a hit.
That's a glimpse of what Marvin Loria can do. Reason to be excited about him if you're a Timber supporter. A young player, just 21 years old, recently debuted for Costa Rica. Before making his MLS debut, he's made his international debut starting for Costa Rica against the United States earlier this month. Flores to serve. Headed away only as far as Konechny. That's his wrong foot, the right foot, and he couldn't get anything behind it.
Well, it's been a good showing of the Timber substitutes since coming on. I think they would have impressed their manager in carrying out their responsibilities. That's what it always comes down to with the players. Do one thing on the training pitch, what the manager asks for you, make sure that it translates when it comes to the matches.
Well, it got entertaining at the end. The Red Bulls went up 2-0. The Timbers pulled 2 back. A spirited final 20 minutes with both teams trying to find a winner. And ultimately, it ends in a 2-2 draw tonight in Tucson.
Impressive from the Red Bulls to see what's coming up through the system and to see some players who are going to be trying to get into the lineup of Chris Armas. He said there could be some players that you see tonight featuring in their CONCACAF Champions League. But then the Timbers found themselves getting into the match. They reacted after the second half, and it was a better display from them. They started to meet the levels of what the Red Bulls were showing. Overall, interesting, very good match and a good tempo.
Steve Clark made one nice save in his 15 minutes or so. And a look at the highlights from this match. We'll start in the 13th minute. Red Bulls go up 1-0.
It's a great slip pass in behind that Epps runs onto and lays it across goal for Brian White. And then the second goal. Nealis, the big center back, he overpowers Mabiala. Adsanala is scrambling. But then the other end, a Bobacy, a good strong header. And then we look at the penalty. Blanco goes into the area and Duncan just clips his heels where Valeri steps up and he blasts it into the top corner. Little doubt of where that ball was going to be ending up.
So it was 2-0 at the half for the Red Bulls. The Timbers got 2 in the second half, and the Timbers and Red Bulls draw 2-2 on what was a chilly night in Tucson. You see two college teammates having a chat down there. Brian White and Jeremy Bobacy both got on the score sheet as well tonight here in Tucson. Well, for Ross Smith, for our entire crew here in Tucson, I'm Jake Sivan. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Next up for the Red Bulls, Wednesday night in CCL play at Atletico Pantoja. Also here Wednesday against FC Tucson, that'll be Red Bulls 2. For the Timbers, Wednesday night here in Tucson against Phoenix Rising. Good night from Keno North Stadium. Final score, Red Bulls 2, Timbers 2.